salt on my skin, so I jump into the pool with my telephone. I don't need to call anybody though. Maybe you the show, I'm in the front row.
And we are here with Anders. What's up, man?
Hello. No, it's good to be here. I appreciate it. It's a cool opportunity. Actually, the first podcast that I've been on. So.
Hey, I'm happy we could be the first. I am was super pumped to talk to you actually because I felt like when we were just randomly met, like one night out because of our mutual friend Connor, I felt like there's just a lot of synergy and just you're into some really interesting stuff.
Very mutually
Yeah,
interesting.
right?
Yeah,
like
sure.
music, like the cannabis culture,
Art,
and all of the above.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I guess for folks that don't know, what are you about, man?
Yeah. So a little bit of everything. A jack of all trades, master of nothing. Really, no. I mean, I'm trying. But I don't know. Music, definitely a passion. Cannabis, also a passion. What I do for a living, what I've done for quite some time for a living now, actually. Fully dedicated to that industry, just a number of things. Went to college in Oregon, from California, from Sacramento, Folsom area, Johnny Cash, Folsom Prison Blues.
And that Oregon vibe too.
The Oregon vibe, yeah, definitely. The Pacific Northwest really spoke to me. If you've ever been, that's an amazing place. Like, you definitely need to go. It's just so unique. So it's been a wild ride. Now I'm here in Arizona, down in the Southwest, and experiencing a little bit more. Still in cannabis, still trying to make music here and there, but just really that's what it's been about. I was an athlete for a long time too, and ended up getting hip surgery, which was kind of like the door that closed to open me into cannabis. So like really I've had an interesting life, I would say.
Right on, man. Well, we're thankful to have you here.
Thankful to be here.
Southwest. But dude, I was just really curious about one, I remember you telling me about your kind of experience in like the reggae music stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess we could start there. Like, tell me a little bit about your experience with music and what that was like for you when you were really fully.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's definitely one of the topics that we connected on most, I would say. Yeah,
for sure.
And you playing in the band is awesome. And I played in the band for quite some time, like 2-3 years. I think we were together in some form or fashion. I was a junior in high school, basically, and these three guys came to a talent show at my school, and they're from some other school, 20 minutes away or whatever. And I'm like, that's kind of weird, but they played, and they were great. And there's a bass player, a guitarist / singer, and then a drummer. And I was like, you guys need one more. And so I talked to them after the show, and I was like, hey, I basically went up to them, and I was like, had my guitar, and I was like, let's jam. I pressured them 100% into jamming right then and there. And it was awesome because I know, literally, kind of, I was like, hey guys, you were great, but you want to jam? And they're high school kids. They're like, yeah, let's jam. We don't have anything to do tonight. It's a Friday night or whatever. So that ended up being the band that I stayed with for 2 or 3 years. We produced a couple of albums in high school. We have one on iTunes.
Hell yeah. What were you guys called?
Official Response.
Official Response.
Yep. So that's what it was in high school. And then we ended up dropping some members, forming a new group called Huge, H-U-J. Huge.
Success.
Oh, God. Yeah. But, yeah, no. So that went on for a while. And then the lead singer / guitar player that I confronted, his name's Graham Richardson. He still does his own project, the Graham Elliott. Graham Elliott is what he goes by, and he's got his own Instagram and everything. You can find him like that, but he's still doing his thing. He's got an interesting new age 80s pop vibe kind of that he's doing now. The reggae has since dismantled, I would say,
sure.
But back then,
too stoned.
Yeah, I don't know, beg to differ, but no, it's it was for a long time, for 2-3 years straight, hardcore. We were all reggae. We were playing festivals. We opened for some big bands like Pepper and Iration and Tomorrow's Bad Seeds, and as 16, 17, 18-year-old high school kids, that was really, really cool to be with these guys, smoke weed with these guys, low key.
Dude, that's so sick.
Yeah.
When he told me that, it blew my mind.
Yeah.
So I was like, what?
Yeah.
Pepper?
Yeah, for real.
Iration?
Very, very, very lucky. Pepper's rowdy, dude. And Ballyhoo, too, from the East Coast. We played with them. Some cool Pacific dub. Just some really cool guys, cool names. It was a really fun couple years in high school. Very blessed to be a part of that.
That's awesome, man. It brings me back in Lake Havasu during spring break. They decided to do a reggae fest.
Ooh.
But it was not promoted properly.
Oh.
So there were 10 people at this reggae fest, but they had a killer lineup.
Oh, damn.
Of like not quite like the Pepper bands.
Mhm.
It would have been like the bands co-headlining with
Mhm.
Pepper that you haven't heard of yet.
Yeah.
And so, like, I remember it was spring break, and we're over at this hotel, and there's like this one EDM scene thing going on, and then we like wander off to this other part where all the boats are, and there's just like this entire reggae fest with
Ooh.
like all these food trucks.
A little hidden secret
no
over
one
there.
Like, this
Yeah.
is amazing.
Super intimate like that. I like that.
Mhm.
Small concerts. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that
But-
the only reggae you've kind of seen?
You know, I would say yeah. I really haven't been. I know Sublime came through
Mhm.
a couple times at like the state fair and things like
Mhm.
that, but I just wasn't ever like, I love Sublime,
Yeah.
but Sublime with Rome, I was never like,
True.
I gotta see that.
True. I saw them with 311. They and 311
Oh, that's a
did.
cool show.
Yeah,
311 's
311 is one of my big influences as like a musician, just like all the way around. But that was a really cool concert with Rome, Sublime with Rome. But still, like it was you know, it's cool, a really cool experience to see legends, because Sublime is also definitely with Bradley. It was definitely one of my influences
Oh, yeah.
when I played.
I mean, groundbreaking, you know, like with that genre and the way that they played. And you know what? I think Stick Figure was
Yeah.
the most recent one that I went to. I love
Tight.
them.
They're
Yeah.
good, man. Yeah, I've been listening to a lot of them recently, actually.
Yeah, they're so chill. Like, there's something about that music that's just so calming.
Mhm.
And
They have great production too. Like it's very like it's just like full bodied like music, and I've seen them live too, and they're just good. They're tight. They're solid.
yeah, and especially you're like, yeah,
Yeah.
this is nice.
I went to the AZ Roots Fest this year this year. Yeah, I think it was the first inaugural here in Arizona. It was pretty
Mhm.
cool. Saw like Revolution and J Boog and all the the big guys and stuff like that.
Oh,
It was cool. So I try to still go to those shows when I can, or see the music and keep up on it. Not playing as much anymore as unfortunately. But-
Right, but dude, that's such a sick experience just to have in your back pocket,
Yeah.
as a musician, because that's like one thing that I covet is like I want to open for like the bands that I looked up to,
Yeah.
and that's really sick that you guys get to do that.
Yeah,
But-
big shouts to Graham Richardson, the lead singer, doing his own thing now. He booked all those shows, like talked to all the music agents, and like went through like DistroKid to get our music on iTunes. Like he went the full mile to make that shit happen. So that was
He
very
was a motivational out of it.
yeah, very much so. A great partner, great person to work with, and honestly a big inspiration of mine. So
Hell yeah! Well, shout out to the homie.
shout out Graham Richardson. There you go.
Man, I'm super pumped at your knowledge of. Okay, so I guess before we jump off into that, after music, and you kind of had like a transitionary period and
Mhm.
whatnot. How did you get involved into the cannabis industry?
Yeah, so that they did kind of go hand in hand. In high school, I was like music and sports. Like I played football, volleyball, soccer, like, varsity. I was like MVP a couple years. Like I did that whole scene, but I also played music the entire time. Started with jazz trumpet actually, and played a lot of jazz trumpet, and eventually switched to guitar because I was like, oh, this I feel like is more versatile. You know what I
Sure.
mean? Can do a lot more with a guitar than you can do with a jazz trumpet background.
A little
So-
bit more popular too,
I would say, but so it ended up being a very nice transition. I ended up getting hip surgery, which is not the nice part, but that, kind of when I had to take that 6 weeks, a couple months off really, and not play, I really never played sports again. I kind of shifted my focus, and unfortunately music also kind of dropped off, but cannabis really kind of went in, one, because it helped me while I had surgery. I was like, oh, this actually, the pain relief is a legitimate aspect of cannabis, but two, because I just saw the industry as it was growing, and I was in Oregon, I was at the right place at the right time as it was getting legalized. I was like right there in it, so I was lucky, and I just slid right in.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. I remember my stoner phase was in high school, like for sure. It was like the introduction, because it was like, whoa, what is this? It's like the bad kids are doing this, but we're like, wait, no, those are my friends. And then you're
Yeah.
like, oh,
You think it's bad?
this is fine, right?
my-
There's that connotation still to it because it's illegal. There's so much
Mhm.
like pressure.
There's a lot of stigma still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that that's something that's getting better.
100% every day, and that's what we work towards. Like especially at our dispensary Oasis, where I work, like we hardcore focus on the medicinal aspect because it's still medical here in Arizona. There's obviously a recreational market in every state, but it's still very much medicinal. We try to take it from a medicinal approach, and I was very lucky to get in with a company that still holds those values and isn't sold out entirely to the recreational market yet, because Oregon did sell out recreationally pretty fast. And
That's kind of what I heard, and I know that once that happens, usually it drives the prices down because everybody's like, "Oh,
dude,
and
yeah,
floods the market."
$5 eighths. everywhere in Oregon. $5 eighths. Yeah, you hear that? $5 eighth. That's insanity. Like that, and that's also bad. That's bad for the mom and pop growers that are trying to make a living growing craft cannabis. Like that, decimates their price point and their profit margins.
It's expensive.
It is.
Expensive.
I mean, you think about it. I mean, I wrote my thesis actually on the sustainability of cannabis because I studied environmental science in Oregon, which was also a nice catalyst because it paired so nicely with that major that I was doing, whether it was like horticultural classes or like policy law classes, because the policy and law behind the war on drugs and cannabis is just whack to begin with. But
Right.
it was really a nice tandem. I was able to work in cannabis and also study environmental science, and cannabis is the most unsustainable thing that you can do with the lighting, the air conditioning, the fans, like everything going.
The food stuff.
Yeah,
feeding,
nutrients, feeding, a
nutrients.
lot of it's synthetic. Yeah, honestly, and we're switching to LEDs and taking some sustainable initiatives, but like for the most part, this industry is still very much like have a bunch of high-powered lighting, cooling in your basement, growing a big old bushy flower. And if you want to grow a big plant or big flower, big vegetable, big anything, you need nutrients, you need lots of water. It's a very water-intensive plant, so it's there's a negative side to the industry
Right.
for sure.
Absolutely. But I think that the benefits to the humans in terms of what it does to chill people out,
Yeah.
make people nicer, kinder humans.
Cure cancer.
Cure cancer. Yeah, I
Yeah.
saw a couple Facebook articles recently
Yeah.
that were talking about that, and obviously it comes from wherever the hell the
Mhm.
source is on those things. But I think that I've read from a couple places that it helps to is it either prevent or protect against cancer cells?
Honestly, both. Like the cannabis plant, they study CBD separately than THC. There's a million different components of cannabis. It's not just
For sure.
THC that gets you high. Like there are so many other like phytochemicals and THC and like beyond THC that
CBD for pain, right?
Yeah, partially. THC is actually a better painkiller. CBD is still good, but the benefit of CBD is like it's non-psychoactive. So
Right.
it's a good foot in the door
Blows
for
your
people.
mind.
But really, if you want to utilize cannabis, you need like a full spectrum product that has THC, that has CBD, that has terpenes, which are a whole other, like the most common terpene in the world is pinene, which is why pine trees smell like pine trees, which is why
Wow.
some weed smells piney. It's like the same chemical that you find in weed is in pine trees, is in fruits and vegetables, and the more you have in that in weed, along with the THC and CBD, you get this like synergistic effect that we call the entourage effect. That really is
right.
it makes it more powerful. That's like it's like you could go to a dispensary and get a 25% THC weed, and like it wouldn't do as much as that 15 to 20% THC weed if it had more like flavor and terpenes and aromatic properties and stuff to it. That flower is going to be a better source of a full-bodied experience, and is going to treat cancer and these other things. Like same way that lavender smells like lavender, that's a terpene called linalool, and that's found prevalently in cannabis, and why some cannabis smells like floral or lavendery, and then it's the same thing. Nature
Right.
is it's not, weed is not some crazy psycho weird reefer madness. It's just another
It's a plant.
dog.
It's a
Yeah.
plant that does something for your body. Just
lot
like
of things.
A lot of the other, pharma, where they're sourcing a lot of their stuff from is from plants too.
Yeah.
But in the most natural form with weed, there are just a lot, or marijuana, there are just so many different benefits.
So
to
many.
it.
And that's it's endless.
Honestly, it's such a interesting shift for me too, because my mom grew up, she had a brain tumor,
Oh,
and she survived.
nice.
Big man upstairs, thank
Yeah.
you for that.
Mhm.
And but for most of my childhood, she was on really heavy like methadone,
Yeah.
and painkillers,
Heavy painkillers, yeah.
and it was like you had to take one medicine, and then the side effects forced you to take another drug.
Yeah.
And then that drug, you had to switch that out because it wasn't working. That caused a
That
different
everybody
side effect.
is called polypharmacy, and is why the pharmaceutical industry is so wealthy. Beyond a
sense.
number of other things, but yeah, polypharmacy is bad because it's like you take a drug and that drug tears up your stomach, so you need to take another drug to counteract the drug that's tearing up your stomach.
Constipation.
Yeah.
I think
It's like,
one common
dude,
one.
I know, even like antibiotics and stuff, it's bad, and like that really is the state of the industry. But like, I mean, that's going back to cannabis, like that's why it's so wonderful, is because whether it's anti-inflammation of the gut for irritable bowel syndrome, or it's just inflammation of joints or muscles, or like the literal inflammation of cancer, and the spreading of cancer, like it helps almost everything. I don't want to say it's the one treat all or the one cure all,
It's
but
an amazing plant.
pretty much the closest thing that we have, I would say. So
It's an amazing plant.
all purpose.
100%. And to say that it's still a Schedule 1
Oh.
and that there's no medical benefits, like,
Don't even get me
crap, what a
started.
stretch. So,
Yeah.
But no, what I was going to say was that through the years, my mom replaced all of those with THC.
Yes.
And it has totally changed her life. She's a totally different person. She
Wow.
is happy. She's up and at 'em all of the time. Like literally when I was
Wow.
a kid, it was like maybe 1 or 2 days a month. She was like a
Active.
normal, like active
Yeah.
parent. And a lot of that I think had to do with the drugs that she was on. And I'm thankful that she survived, but she's so much happier now. And
Yeah.
it's so funny though to go visit my mom because she lives in California now, and we'll like take a trip to the weed store.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh, I'm going to the weed store with my mom.
That's
and
awesome.
It's just like, what?
Yeah. That's, I mean,
It's such a weird.
it's the modern
It's
age,
crazy,
man.
yeah.
Like, I mean, if you go to Oregon, literally, it's like most corners have a dispensary and like maybe a brewery. Like, it's really like that's
I love
That's
the
the-
craft brew in Oregon.
true. That's like the world, you know what I mean? And
Where are you from in Oregon? Is that where you're-
not from originally, from Folsom, Sacramento area,
Okay.
but I lived in Salem. Went to school in Salem, Oregon, which is like the
Oh,
capital.
we talked about this.
Yeah.
That's where I went. That's where I'm from.
Yeah. Mhm.
Right.
Originally, yeah, right. Like back. Wait,
I was
Salem-
born in Bellevue, Washington.
Yeah.
But grew up in Salem, Oregon. Until I was
Okay.
18.
Wow, where did you go to school?
McNary.
Yeah, okay, so like I'm not even gonna list the name of friends, but like I'm sure,
Connor and
yeah,
all those
I'm sure
guys.
that's how you know them. But yeah,
Mhm.
I'm sure there's a number of other people because I dated a girl in like for a long time in Oregon, very went to Sprague, like you know what I mean, and like
Right.
So it's like I'm actually pretty familiar with like the Oregon area, and that's
Such a small world.
it is. Oregon's pretty small though. Like, and part of the reason I moved to Arizona, or we moved to Arizona, long story. I'm sure we'll talk about that too.
Sure.
But like, it is because in Oregon there are 4.7 million people in the entire state. There are that many people, if not more, in the Phoenix metro. Here in
That's insane.
So-
I didn't know that.
Yeah, dude,
That's a lot of
it's the 5th largest city in America. I didn't know that
You
either.
don't think about that when you're in it,
The
right?
fastest growing state in America as of last year, Arizona.
See, I believe that, but I also don't. I feel like every state says that.
I don't know, man. Like I would, dude.
I believe it. For my personal, I believe it.
Yeah.
But it's like on a side note,
Mhm.
when I lived in Denver, they're like, Denver's the fastest growing city.
Yeah.
And like,
Well, it changes too.
Right.
But like literally, I drive past more people on my daily commute than you would drive past in a week in Oregon, just
for
because
sure.
of the population density and
For
stuff. And
sure.
there are over 500 dispensaries in Oregon. There are less than less than 200 here in Arizona. So that market potential, it's gonna explode.
strip clubs and dispensaries.
And a lot
Holla,
of
Oregon.
Oregon, yeah, like
Highest
adult
strip club per
shops,
capita
strip clubs.
in the U.S.
Yeah.
Right? Actually, I think in the world.
They just like to have fun, honestly. Like,
Well, you got to be inside.
Yeah, true.
You got to be because it
True.
rains so much, you
True.
know. And I think that was one of the things. It's so beautiful.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you have to deal with the fact that you're just going to be wet all the time. You're going to be wet and cold. If you
Most
don't
of
have
the time.
right gear.
summer
then,
and fall
it's
are
not
beautiful, but yeah, it's pretty rainy. Other than that,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Nothing beats our summers, though. I will say that's like the goal is to have a summer home in like Oregon or Denver or somewhere like that, Washington.
Come here for the winter. Be a snowbird. Isn't that what they call them here?
Snowbirds.
Snowbirds, yeah.
My dad's a snowbird.
He's a snowbird, yeah.
He's living the life.
Oh, nice.
But no, man. So what are you doing with Oasis these days?
Yeah, so my technical position is marketing coordinator. I'm going to do a number of different tasks like vendor relations. I do graphic design, self-taught. I didn't go to school for marketing, so I'm in the marketing realm. But I did do like contract marketing and taught myself graphic design in Oregon and did a lot of other things kind of on the side because I saw that niche, that need for the marketing and aspect in Oregon and in the cannabis industry in general. So I tried to ride that out and taught myself some useful skills, digital marketing, Google ads, Facebook, like SEO, like web design, building stuff like that. And it kind of led me to the whole story about me moving here to Arizona, where I started applying for jobs. And then it was I applied to a bunch of places, and Oasis was one of the ones that I interviewed with, and it just had a great fit, like I talked about earlier, with the medicinal kind of like approach that they have to it, and it really was just a good fit. So it's a long road. I taught myself a lot of things because I didn't go to school for marketing. I worked on farms in Oregon too, like cannabis farms, because I studied horticulture and environmental science.
What was that like?
Oh, that
Being
was
on
cool.
farms?
It was cool. It was a lot different than marketing.
Is it just like Pineapple Express? You walk and it's just a warehouse full of weed everywhere, and you're just like.
Yeah, yeah. No, to be frank, yeah. Like
I heard from someone that if you got high enough that you could hear the plants talking to you, like,
yeah. Nah, I mean maybe the brushing of their leaves together under the fans or something. But no, I mean like people hang out with their plants and they smoke with their plants and they go in there and they think it helps. But it really is, whether you're growing indoors or outdoors, you literally just have a huge space of just large plants, of large beautiful.
Right.
The smell is overwhelming too. I don't know if it's
I've driven. You're driving by one.
a
'cause you're
grow.
like,
Yeah, you smell it
"This
outside.
skunk- Man, this skunk's been here for like a couple miles.
That's a dead skunk right there.
But no, man, that's awesome. And I think that in Oregon too is just like renowned for their cannabis and like
Yeah.
Humboldt County.
Yeah.
So like I was gonna ask you too, like how does Arizona compare to those strains? Like are they imported or
Yeah.
are they grown here or like how does that work?
Arizona's kind of like a couple steps behind. Like the craft designer strains in Oregon and California is where still a lot of them come out. Humboldt County, LA now is a big scene and has been a big scene for a long time. But the whole West Coast really is the biggest. Arizona is kind of the latent, like the cousin basically. The whole West Coast will get it. California, Oregon, Washington, and it kind of makes its way east basically. So
Got it.
we
New
have.
Yorkers are getting some.
They're a couple steps behind. Yeah, that's all I'm gonna say. But a lot of the strains that were in Oregon make it to Arizona eventually, and I've seen them here kind of popping up. There's a lot of different strains too, like unique strains that have been grown here. Yeah, I don't know. For the most part, I think the weed in Oregon is much better. It's a recreational market. It's a free market, so there's more competition. There's a lot of craft cannabis. One thing that Arizona's industry is lacking is lab testing, and we have an initiative that in 2020 lab testing is going to be required, but currently and previously nobody had to test what was in their weed. So like,
That seems like not a good idea.
right? I mean, like you think about anything, you use your food or your medicine or whatever it may be, it has to go through some sort of like third-party lab testing, but cannabis didn't have to go through any of that.
I think wasn't that a
it's-
controversy with the edibles specifically too? Because you have like a
everything.
full kitchen, where you're preparing food, but they're not held to the same ethical guidelines of food preparation.
100%.
Because it's not technically.
Yeah. And
You
that's
know?
even a small portion of it, you know what I mean? Like there have been, 10 plus deaths of people smoking vape cartridges, recently as a whole big, debacle. None of it has happened in Arizona, but like there are a lot of people putting crappy, stuff out on the market in Arizona because they can't, you know what I mean?
Right,
They've
it's
been
not
allowed to.
regulated.
Yeah. They're not nearly to the point where, Oregon and Colorado and Washington and some of these other states and California is kind of a controversial recreational market, but some of the other ones are doing a little bit better. The products are better. Like you're just gonna get better stuff there.
Yeah.
You really do. Yeah.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, people want to know that their food is safe, their water, you can drink it, and
Yeah.
their weed is good. There's not all these crazy chemicals, and I think that was a big driving force as to or a big reason why the push for legalization is good, because a lot of these cartels are unregulated folks that are just getting into the market. They may be treating their plants with chemicals that aren't safe.
Fertilizers, pesticides.
I've heard some
You
stories.
name it, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah. 100%. It's really bad, honestly. Like that. Part of what I wrote in my thesis is actually there's like an animal called the fisher in California, and it's like this like weasel looking kind of like thing, and it's like a predator or whatever. But like we've traced basically, and we can almost conclusively say that like their populations have been almost wiped out because of like pesticide runoff, specifically from cannabis grows. Like there's a whole specific subsection of like the California Department of Fish and Game that treks up streams because they can tell when an illegal grow is up there because they have to divert an entire stream basically. So when a stream goes dry, they're like, oh, there's something's going on here. They'll trek up the stream, and then there's like, oh, this 50-acre illegal cartel grow tucked up in the hills.
That's so
and that's
crazy.
like it's a whole task force, and like these people are loaded with guns and stuff too. But it's that's the unsustainable, the dark side of the industry is like the illegal portion of it. Still, the black market really does have a toll beyond our health. It's environmental health. It's
Right.
a lot of other things, and they do put all sorts of pesticide and shit in there too. It's bad. It really is.
Yeah. Well, I think that the solution to that, if I, can put on my spectacles here, I would say is legalize it.
Yeah.
Legalize it federally so that there can be an infrastructure built, a place to test it, some kind of an agency that overlooks us, maybe the FDA, maybe a separate branch of something. But, I mean, what are your thoughts on legalization and, how you see that progressing.
Yeah, and I mean, like, there's the debate between decriminalization and legalization too. But with decriminalization, I mean, a big argument for that is just like people not going to jail. You know what I mean? Like, people have been locked
That's a
up.
huge piece.
Yeah, and that's a huge piece of it. But like,
So sad too.
it's unnecessarily sad, like atrociously. Like, shame on our for-profit prison system. Like that, the fact that
That's
we
the
have
most ridiculous thing.
Yeah, but it really is. It's not. I don't know. It's just a ridiculous aspect of it.
Well, do you think that it would be more beneficial to decriminalize rather than legalize?
It's at least as a first step. I think there are certain cities, like I think New York and San Francisco and other certain, like, the progressive hotspots of America that are starting to release prison sentences and starting to, like, let people out for it. And I think that's the first step, is the decriminalization of it. But ultimately, we need regulation. I mean, people are going to continue to die. People are going to continue to get, poisoned in their, cannabis, and just, it really is. I think legalization is the next step. The fact that it's a Schedule I substance makes it not able to be studied for medical purposes or really regulated at all. And that puts a huge barrier in the industry. So I mean, I think legalization is right around the corner. Like 31 or something states have some form of medical or legal cannabis at this point, and so I think it's right around the corner, and I think it needs to happen. Like I think legalization full blown, but I think if states can take the steps to decrim in the meantime until that has to go through the legislature, and it takes time through the courts and everything. Like, if we can decrim and not put people in jail in the meantime, like that'll be enough, I think.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if it's in a state where someone's smoking, or they've got like a little sack in their car or something like that, in a state where it's technically not legal,
yeah,
but to have it just be a ticket or something, I think,
not
as long
10
as
years
not,
in prison.
Yeah, as long as they're not, just insanely driving or something like that.
Yeah.
But it's just ridiculous. It's archaic. It's something that needs to get fixed.
I agree. A big issue, and it's been an issue since the whole war on drugs. Like, I mean, a big target of it was cannabis. Like, hippies and minorities and people that we could put in jail for protesting war or smoking reefer madness. It's coming to an end. The stigma is ending, and with legalization, I think education will come too, and I think that's going to be the biggest piece, honestly. Like, if people were educated about it and educated on how to use it safely, like, you wouldn't be buying counterfeit cartridges, you wouldn't be buying these pesticide-filled stuff. You could read lab results, and there's this... with legalization will come the destigmatization and the education of the whole industry.
Right. It's just like, to me, honestly, I see it similar as proper gun laws too, in just the same sense of, like, I don't think that you should take guns away, but I think that having a few better screening practices, and then if you were to have, like, you have to get a license to drive a car.
Yeah.
So if there's some kind of process on how to use a gun, I think, that education is super crucial to safety, just with anything. Because if you advise some, person right out of high school or some kiddo that doesn't know what he's doing and just pops like, 100 milligram gummy.
Oh yeah.
He's going to lose his mind.
Trash.
He's freak
dude.
out. Yeah, he's going to freak out.
You don't want to go to the hospital.
People are going to think he's crazy.
Yeah.
And that's where that stigma comes, just people just don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
The education.
And that, I mean, a little education for you if you use edibles and like you like edibles. The reason that it hits you so hard is because when you eat it, your liver metabolizes it from the Delta 9 THC that when you smoke it goes through your lungs or you can absorb through your mouth. When your liver metabolizes it, it converts the Delta 9 into 11-hydroxy THC, which is THC, but it's a different THC. And it's literally like 3 to 5 times stronger depending on your enzymatic composition of your liver, literally. So it's like if you have like a high, some people have 1 or 2 drinks, they're lightweights. It's because they have sometimes it's because they have a lot of like enzymes or active enzymatic production in their liver. With cannabis is the same thing. If those same people eat a gummy, they're gonna 5 milligrams will do them in for the whole day because it converts to something far more strong than I can't even equate it. It's like it'd be like 50 puffs of weed to like a 5 milligram gummy for somebody like that. I mean, like, it's really like, it'll wreck them. It's crazy. Like, science, basically.
Right. But, getting wrecked would probably result in like them passing out on a couch somewhere.
Well, yeah, I mean, you'll never die, yeah.
Right. But I think that the repercussions from getting too stoned as compared to getting too drunk. Like, you look at what happens, like, this
Oh,
crazy
yeah.
shit happened. What happened leading up to that? It's like a fuck ton of alcohol, and it's
Mhm.
like, oh, homie ate every single calzone, fucking cheese nips, and like frozen pizza in the house.
And fell asleep for 14 hours.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you really eat too much edibles, you'll probably be, you know, just falling asleep anyways. Like, you're not going to be riding through that. But, you know, it's...
Riders on the storm.
You gotta start slow. That's what I...
I've been doing for love, but I got no money. Hanging outside, shirts off, it's sunny. I wanna spend the night, you think I'm funny. Body like an hourglass, lips like honey. I like to keep my life on the straight and narrow. Eyes on the target like a fire on the
Definitely.
arrow. So
Yeah,
there's
definitely.
a-
Yeah.
man. So we were just talking about, you know, just kind of to touch back up on what we were talking
What
about,
weren't we
with just
talking
the
about?
effects of, you know, someone that was opposed to cannabis their whole life, and then it took a relative or someone super close to them, you know, to try it before they were, you know, kind of convinced that, oh, okay, maybe this is okay.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, just with my mom specifically too, like seeing her, you know, totally transform
It's
for me
amazing.
has just been so cool. So it makes me want to help share the news. You know, hey, this is awesome. You know, stop doing, like, think about all the things that it could potentially help with, like lack of hunger, seizures,
Mhm.
and this is just things that I know.
Yeah.
Headaches, pain relief, you know, potentially cancer, like
Yeah. Parkinson's,
Par-
irritable bowel
Ah.
syndrome, like a million other things. Yeah, no, I mean, totally. And like it's like, yeah, when you anxiety, yeah, you know,
Prozac,
depression, yeah. When you have somebody in your life that is so meaningful to you, that goes through it and goes through something very, very difficult and is life changing, life altering, and they use cannabis and it helps them and it improves their quality of life, like that is amazing. Like that's really what it's about, you know, like that's what you want. You want to have that intimate, that personal experience, that connection, and it makes you change your mind. It makes some crazy people change their mind. Even Donald Trump, you know, surprisingly enough, is pro medical cannabis.
Interesting.
Yes, he
I
said
didn't
it.
know that.
He said it many times. He's like, many of my older friends use cannabis. I think it's wonderful medically. Like literally, words out of his mouth. Like he is pro medical cannabis. Recreational is a different story, but
Sure.
medical cannabis. Donald Trump's very pro cannabis. So
Interesting.
yeah,
Well, you
surprisingly enough.
You know, and I think that goes to speak to, like, if we talk politics just for a quick second, the fact that, you know, there's good and evil in everyone. And I think to label someone totally, completely evil, or an entire sect of people evil for, you know, believing in a certain thing, or, you know, different political party, it's like, you know what, you probably don't have all the story
Yeah.
or know the person, because there are good points on both sides of the argument.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that, you know, there's some awful things that I really disagree with that Donald Trump's done, but there's also some really good shit that he's done.
He's done
Like
He's done some things.
liver
Yeah.
transplant stuff. I heard recently that he passed. That was really good.
He did pass something for the music industry, and he passed like a bill that was helping artists so they actually get their, you know, proper revenue and, you know, illegal downloads. It's not, I don't know the extent of the bill, but it had something to do with the rights and ownership of music, and it seemed to be a positive thing. So yeah, we can give him credit where credit's
he's
due.
always had that, like, artists have always loved him. Like, what was that Mac Miller song, Donald Trump?
Yeah.
I want that Donald Trump.
And like the whole Kanye West
Kanye,
thing.
that was
Yeah.
phenomenal with Kanye. God, it's so hilarious. I love Kanye West. People
Yeah.
talk shit
Yeah.
on Kanye West because, yes, he is super wacky, and you could argue a giant douchebag. But dude, the guy is a creative genius, and he's not afraid to be himself. And something that I really admire about people is when they can, you know, live their life devoid of a filter, and, you know, cultivate the life that they want for themselves.
Yeah.
So
And they
I
can-
respect that about
Yeah, yeah. Kanye is he's a very controversial figure, but I like a lot of his music. So
Yeah. Apparently, we're his target market too. There's just like something about like younger white males that dig
Really?
Kanye West a lot.
oh
Yeah.
boy,
So
Yeah.
we are the problem.
Yeah, we're the problem, I guess. Hey, he was a musical genius, I would say, for quite some time. But I mean, like, if you, also, like, I'll give it to them that, to put it in perspective, for some people, it's like most geniuses are manic to some degree.
You have to be obsessive.
You have to a certain extent. Like, they're like a condition, a psychological condition of bipression, like, or bipolar disorder, and like some other things like schizophrenia and stuff. Before you go into like full blown schizophrenia and stuff, some people go through this like manic period where they're like super intelligent and like they're crazy, but like they have these like gifts and they think super clearly, and that's like the tipping point, like that, like equilibrium into where they fall into like the schizophrenia, or they fall into like severe bipolar disorder or something, some sort of emotional disorder. And it's like, maybe he's going through something like that, but like,
For sure.
there's no doubt you can't argue that some of the stuff that he's put out and some of the things that he's done is like very, very talented, and like he's pioneered some things in the music industry for sure, but he's also fucking whack. So
This is true.
This is true.
Double-edged sword. But before we leave the topic of cannabis,
Yeah.
I wanted to know, do you think in the future when we go to Mars, do you think the government that's established, do you think legalization of marijuana will be a part of the Mars lifestyle? We're all floating around.
I think that by the time we are able to colonize Mars, cannabis will be legalized and destigmatized to the point where it's almost a normal part of like regular medicinal or like nutritional supplementary. You go to GNC and there's the CBD tablets now and stuff now, or you got the CBD protein powder and stuff. I think we'll get to the point where cannabis is a regular part of society like it was for some time, and then it will be transported in its like concentrated medicinal form to Mars. I don't think we'll ever grow it on Mars because of the environmental, impact. Like, I feel like that would use way too much energy. So you got to use that energy for like important things. I feel
they
like
got space flowers now.
Yeah.
Though. I saw that they had I saw it on Reddit. They had the first flower grown completely in space. It's space
like on
flower.
a space station or something
Yeah,
like that. Well, that's
yeah.
pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, if they grew weed, like space weed would be dope. Not out.
Space weed.
Space weed would be dope.
How sick is space weed? God, the future is bright, my fellow humans. Well, hey, I hope that we don't have to go to Mars. It would just be a cool extra place to go.
Yeah.
But you recently were telling me you went to Hawaii, and you kind of got to experience a little bit more of some protesting and some things going on.
Yeah. Of astronomical degree.
Oh, was this like, I think I heard Neil deGrasse Tyson talking about this. So is this with the
Probably.
telescope?
This is the TMT. Like,
you were there. What
yep.
was that like?
Dude, it was very interesting. And like, granted, this has been going on since late 2014. Like, the first round of protests with the issuing of the initial construction licenses was in like October, I think, of 2014. So like it's old. Like, this has been going on for a long time. Like, there are people that have been camping out and doing like rotations for almost 5 years now. Basically, there are full camps set up there. Like, it's really a unique and it's depressing. It's saddening. It's like inspirational in a way because they're fighting for native culture. And it was very interesting driving through there. We wanted to, ultimately try and hike up the mountain, and obviously because it's amazing and spiritual, and like, but it was just, it was blocked. The protests were there, and there was a ton of people still protesting. I saw some news articles, very interesting, comparing it to Standing Rock and the media and how they, portray these protests and stuff. Like, I read some news articles.
Real quick, just so people know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
There is a massive telescope that they're wanting to put on a specific island, a specific mountain.
Yeah, Mauna Kea in Hawaii.
Mauna Kea.
Yep, the biggest of the volcanoes on the big island of Hawaii. Yeah, and they basically it's a telescope, and the main concerns is that the mountain is spiritual or sacred, and also there are other concerns of pollution and pollution of water and drinking water, because Hawaii is actually surprisingly still a predominantly freshwater fed island. They almost all of their water that they drink, their drinking water, is filtered naturally through volcanic rock. So putting in construction and doing stuff
nice.
that high up is going to pollute everything down. That's a sub portion of it, but it's also sacred land. But basically, there have been multiple protests over the last 5 years that have resulted in, I think, close to 50 arrests. Most of them who are elders, actually, that have been protesting and have been arrested, and it really revolves around them, preventing the construction of. It's going to be, I think, the second or third largest telescope in the world, other than one in like Chile or something like that. And I see the other side of the story because it really is the prime location to build a telescope. If you think about it, it's 13,000 feet up in the air, like
Sure.
prime weather and everything like that. But it is sacred ground, and there is a lot of protest that's been going on for a long time.
It's a sticky situation.
It is, yeah.
It's a very sticky situation.
Yeah.
But, I believe in science,
Mhm.
and I also believe in respecting cultural
Yeah.
beliefs. And I know that, especially for those native folks, it means a lot to them.
Mhm.
It's similar to, Native American burial grounds.
Yeah,
and things
very
like that,
similar.
I would say.
And Standing Rock was very much the same as kind of considered sacred ground. They're going to build a pipeline through it. And the other aspect, I think there are 10 plus observatories already on Mauna Kea. So they're not against astronomy and the scientific community and the
It's
economy.
just that mountain specifically.
Yeah, and where they were going to build it and the size of the telescope specifically, like it would be
It's
this.
massive,
It's
isn't it?
massive. Like it's
Yeah.
like 30 something meters. I think it's called the TMT. I think it's called the 30-meter telescope. It's like something like 200 times greater than the strongest telescope we have now or something like that. I don't know. I don't know the exact numbers.
Mutant telescope.
Yeah, it is. It's some mutant telescope stuff. But yeah, the protests have been going on for a long time, and it was really saddening to see, to be honest. Like, it made us not want, even if we could hike the mountain, it almost made us not want to hike the volcano, if that makes sense. Like,
Sure.
You want to be respectful of what they're doing, and they put a lot of time and effort into this, and, they have full camps set up. They all fly flags of like an upside down like British colonial flag. I sent you some pictures of it. It's very unique.
So
and
it stems bigger than that. I think it's more of a stance against capitalism.
It
and a
is.
stance against.
it's against everything, against
Yeah,
colonialism.
That's something to get behind on that represents all of that.
Yeah, and it is really something that I think that's a portion of it too. Like
For
the
sure.
the whole like colony of Hawaii. I don't know if colony is the correct word. I apologize, but like the Hawaiian Islands and how they were acquired. They're U.S. territory now, and they've been in different ownership, and they had queens and stuff for a long time. It was very different, and we changed their way of life, and they aren't closed off to astronomy, but like this, I think there is some counterculture, some subculture playing parts in this as well.
Absolutely. And I've heard from multiple accounts that some of the natives aren't too friendly with some of the the visitors that come through, and
Yeah.
I can understand that. Like, it's never
Yeah.
cool just to be a dick dick.
That's the biggest
Which
thing.
I think is maybe what is happening to a certain extent.
Yeah.
But I can also understand their perspective. Like, goddamn, fuck all these white people coming here, these dumbass
And, like,
people on vacation.
I must say, from my
Like-
perspective, when I went there, it was the off season, and there were an equal number of like Japanese and Eastern Asian visitors and tourists as there were Caucasian and from
God
the United
for
States.
diversity.
Yeah, no, and there were, but like they also have a different way of life than the Hawaiian culture, as do we. And so I'm by no means are the Hawaiians racist, but yeah, I think there is a little bit of a different treatment. Like, you don't go to some local restaurants, or you don't go to. I mean, like in Japan, if you travel to Japan, there are literally some restaurants where if you're a white person, you walk in, they'll kick you out. Like, that's a thing.
That's racist.
I mean, like it's a thing. It's a thing. You know what I mean? They're Japanese only restaurants.
We used to do that. It's called racism.
I know, and like I mean, it's a different place. But I think Hawaiian culture, there is some that, like I said, that counterculture, that subculture, and part of it is towards America, because they're property of the property of the U.S.
Right.
They're under our.
It's a weird thing.
It's a very weird thing. So I don't know. It's if you see it in person. It's very unique. You drive from sea level all the way up to 13,000, not literally, but you drive up to like, I think 8,000 or 9,000 feet elevation. So you drive up, like literally driving up the side of this big ass volcano, and you get
That's
to,
sick.
it's really cool. You also feel the elevation change in your body and your ears popping and stuff like that. Like, you go from like sea level to like 2 miles high almost.
0 to 100.
Yeah, literally, yeah. So it's really cool. You feel the phenomenon, but then you get up there, and it's spiritual. It's this huge mountain. There are a ton of native people, and it gives you some perspective. I didn't get to see, obviously, Standing Rock or some of these other protests, but this one was one that I was able to see in person, and it was really powerful.
That's really cool,
Yeah.
man. I think that's something that, especially as young adults, it's important to get involved with what's happening, and I remember I went to a Donald Trump, he was speaking, but there was also protesting, and just going and witnessing that and experiencing that, or just going out and seeing a protest, see what that's about and getting involved. And,
Yeah.
just
It's a unique experience.
it's cool.
You gotta
Yeah.
experience it at least once. Oregon was really weird, and I don't know if you've seen the news with like the Antifa and like the things that happened in Portland with
Super
the clashes.
aggressive.
It's super
Yeah.
aggressive, and like I believe it to a certain extent. I was there to see it to a certain extent. I think the media exaggerates
They hype
it
up
to
so
a
much.
certain extent.
There's like 5 people.
Yeah, they're like
that are like not even.
and like that's the thing is like there I know
catch.
yeah there are I can feel it, dude. I've been in like the industry where you do like music and like you see a mic stand falling, like your partner's mic stand, you like dive for it, one arm and guitar, dude. It's like it's a fifth sense or sixth sense or whatever in the music industry. But no, I don't know. I don't remember what I was talking about, but
Yeah, just about getting out and being involved in society, culture. Don't just live behind your screen.
True.
I think is a good rule to live by. But dude, who are you listening to these days?
Man, these days I've actually I played in a reggae band for a long time, did that whole thing, listened to a lot of reggae during that time, and then ultimately I think my music perspective and preference shifted to EDM almost wholly for a long while.
Right on.
I love hip hop as well. I've always loved hip hop, but like it was mostly EDM. I go to a lot of like raves, a lot of festivals, a lot of stuff like that. I do like that culture, and I love the music, and I like music production. So I like player, bro. Nah, I'm not like, I don't have like candy up my forearms and stuff like that per se. But it's a cool culture, and like reggae is also a cool culture. Like the vibe, they're different. The drugs that you do are different. It's like everything is different. But like I like to experience both of those things, and it just makes it a fun experience. But EDM for sure.
Any specific artists?
Man, dude, like Calvin Harris, like long term, like inspiration is probably my biggest EDM inspiration. He works with a lot of cool artists now, like Migos and like like Frank Ocean and like some cool stuff like that. And I just love those collabs. And so, but
That's
I mean,
dope. I like
there's so many
Migos.
subgenres of EDM too, though, that like that's like a pop, like house. Subgenre favorite, but like, if I had like a dubstep favorite, I would say like, like Skrillex or something, something of the sort. But, I think most of the music I listen to is house music. So
Okay.
I would say like Rufus Du Sol. I don't know if you know who
Yeah,
Rufus
yeah,
Du
I know
Sol
Rufus
is.
Du Sol.
Yeah. So like stuff like that. I love like I've seen them twice. I love how they incorporate like, live instrumentation into a lot of their stuff. Like he, lead singer plays guitar. I don't recall his name, but he plays guitar, but he can also he'll play keyboard with his right hand and guitar with his left hand and do chords and like have reverb on both. So it's like this cool, big, full sound, and he'll be
that's
singing
sick.
over it. And it's just like, he's a very talented musician to see that, like, get that house music, like dancey vibe, but to also know that they're actually playing that music, and they have a live drummer and stuff like that
It's like
too.
a talented Chainsmokers is what you're saying.
Basically, yeah, they're from Australia. Yeah, I don't know where the Chainsmokers are from, but yeah, no, they're a huge influence of mine. I love like vocal house, like stuff like that. Like I don't know, like Route 94, like just like I don't know, man. EDM is such a big genre. I also like drum and bass, like a lot of.
Dude, do you listen to Sullivan King, or do you know who that is?
I know who they. I'm not super but like, is that favorite of yours or what?
Oh, I'm a huge fan of metal.
Uh-huh.
And he does a lot of like metal guitar
Ooh.
underneath like breakneck
Some
style,
headbanger
like
shit.
yeah,
Tight.
like Excision.
Oh, okay.
Or
Yeah.
like God, Kill the Noise
Yeah.
style,
Ooh.
like drops,
Kill the Noise.
but with metal like
Yeah.
guitar.
That's
just
tight.
Or like
I
at
like-
the gym or something.
I like when people blend genres like that.
Yeah.
That's fucking sick. I think Lil Nas actually, props, did that, with the hip hop and the country music and stuff like that. I do like when people can cross those barriers and, genre blend, like that. I think that's really
I think
unique.
it's natural too.
Yeah.
I mean, like, when you look at, I forget, like Run DMC,
Oh,
I think was some of the
for
first
sure.
to do it, and then like
With sampling and stuff like that too.
Yeah, and then you look at, the Linkin Park Jay-Z collab back in the day.
True.
And like the integration that I've seen, like with trap metal too, for example. Like we had this band Dropout Kings on the podcast
Okay.
not too long ago. and
Are
they're
they
trap
local?
metal. They're from here.
Yeah.
But they're signed to Napalm Records.
Okay, cool.
And they're gonna blow up. They're fucking sick.
Pretty
Like
cool.
Adam Ramey, shout out, homie.
Ooh.
They're dope.
I want to say they played at like a cannabis event that I was at, and they were like playing in the background. I'm not 100% sure on that, but no, I'll have to check them out. I do like,
Yeah,
I
I'll send you
love,
some links.
dude, I listen
They're
to a
cool.
lot of Rage Against the Machine. Like, I
Oh,
just,
yeah.
I like the political side of it. Like, you know, it's some headbanger shit too. Yeah, going down Rodeo with a shotgun. So it's
Pocket full of shit. yeah, for sure.
dude. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I would say my music influences are diverse. From playing in a reggae band to I produce a little bit of, you know, electronic music here and there. Nothing that I've kind of like actually released
Dabbling.
yet. I do a lot of dabbling, but
dabble here,
yeah,
dabble there.
yeah, no, it goes pretty deep. One question I actually had for you was, what was your
What's up?
first concert?
Ah,
Like,
dude,
who's
Foo
the
Fighters.
first? Really?
The Foo Fighters.
Oh, damn.
Connor took me to
Oh,
my first show.
no way,
yeah,
dude.
bro. It was like
Wow.
the sickest.
Wow.
I didn't know what I was in for.
Dude, that's the smallest fucking world.
Dude, Connor
Oh
was like
my
the
God.
coolest dude. I was like 15. He had long hair and like had like older friends. Like, oh, this guy's so
Not
cool.
long dreaded
But-
hair, but long like hair.
Yeah, just like, you know, Connor vibes.
flowy.
Yeah, right. So shout out to Connor. Love you, bro.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, no, we went to, he asked me to go to the show with, I think, Ryan Tisdale. Shout out to Ryan.
I don't know.
And homie's mom. And went there, and I had never seen someone so fucking cool. Dave Grohl
Oh, dude.
came out and just owned it. And he was, I remember
Oh.
they played The Pretender
Uh-huh.
or whatever. And then like afterwards, he's like, "What's up, Oregon? I hear you guys like to smoke a lot of weed."
Oh.
And he just like went into this thing, and just like his presence and just like his performance. and just, like,
Damn.
it was super dope, man. That was my first show.
That's rad. That's a better story than I was expecting, honestly, with the connection to Connor and everything like that too. I just think it's such a small world, and the Foo Fighters are great, dude. Like, I like Nirvana too, so like that whole transition was true. Rest in peace.
R.I.P.
But yeah, no, dude, that was, I think my first concert was Leonard Skinner.
That's sick.
Not with the original like singer or whatever. I think
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, they did. But like, you know, Leonard Skinner. There was a couple of the original members and stuff like that. First EDM concert was Bass Nectar.
Oh, that's
And-
sick. I've always wanted to see him.
Dude, as a 15 or 16-year-old kid, 15, I think I was 15 at the time, and I was like, because I couldn't
you're
drive,
lying.
because I took the light rail to Sacramento. I couldn't drive there, so I took the light rail to Sacramento. So I was like 15, maybe I had my permit or some shit like that, and like I go there, and like I had a bag full of like Chex Mix edibles, and like it was way too strong. I just like put a bunch of weed butter. I had no idea at the
no.
time, and like, dude, I was there. This is the craziest story. I still tell people this, like at parties or whatever. Like I was there at Bass Nectar, like tripping balls off weed because I was still young to it. You know what I mean? This was like high school or late middle
Right,
school or whatever.
experimental.
So I was like tripping balls off weed, and I was there, and I bump into this other dude who's next to me, and we're both watching Bass Nectar. We look at each other a couple times, and he looks at me, and he's like, "Hey, what's your name?" And I'm like, "Anders," and he's like, "What?" And I'm like, "Anders," and I'm like, "Why is that weird?" And he's like, "My name's Anders." And I was like, no fucking way, dude. And like, I'm still friends with him on like Facebook and stuff to this day. Like, it's just it was so weird. We were like dead center stage too. So we made our way to the
That's
center,
hilarious.
like by fate, bumped into each other. Like, and I think before we even asked each other's names, like I gave him like some edibles and he gave me like a swig of his like vodka in a water bottle or some shit like that.
Sure.
And like, we exchanged names and like fucking blew our minds, dude.
That's
Like,
incredible.
it was pretty insane. So that's a pretty cool story. One of my first concerts too, but
Dude. Well, I want, before we close it out, I always end with, hey, what is your rad message you like to send out to your peeps?
dude, just be a good person, honestly. Like, I think people don't follow their moral compass enough. Like, you know, I think, you know, whether it's going with weed or whatever industry you're working in, I think if you just do it well and you're a good person about it, like, and you have, you know, you just try your best, but you also try your best to be a good person and try to follow that moral compass, you're going to be a lot more successful. Like, I just feel like people that, you know, like cheat and lie, they get their way to the top, like they'll get their way there, but like in the long term, the enrichment from something that has made their way out of like dedication and hard work is like not worth like undermining and undervaluing. So I would just say, be a good person, follow your passion. That's why I work in the weed industry and why I make music and stuff, but just do what you want to do. And I think if you do it well and you put a good heart into it, you're going to be successful. So
I agree wholeheartedly. Anders, it's been an absolute pleasure.
dude, thank you again for having me. Much appreciated.
Another man. We'd be happy to have you back.
play some music sometime.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Wanna welcome other people in the world of the West Coast. Let me do the work, cause I'm gonna be a host. It's a California summer, so you're taking off your coat. Diving to the bottom and I hope it keeps flow. Gotta lose track of space and time. If you know what day it is, then get out of your mind. You gotta stop thinking that you're falling behind. Forget about the ground, relax and unwind. Forget about the time and what your name is. Here on the West Coast, we're all famous. See a hottie with the body and the cutie with the booty. Ladies everywhere, half naked, it's a beauty, so chill. Bro, kill the tempo. Just float on your back and go with the flow. I'm so goddamn addicted to the summertime. High sail, women and sunshine. I'm so goddamn addicted to the summertime. High sail, women and sunshine. Beach volleyball, pass me the ball. Girls looking so tan, girls looking so tall, like Pokemon. You gotta catch 'em all. That's why summertime's much better than fall. Life out here is something to live for. Just can't buy at your local drugstore. My prescription is for sure. Can't stop looking at a beautiful contour. Pretty baby got me looking like an eyesore. Come on, little lily, come on down to the seashore. Riding backhand, you'll be covered on a longboard. Later on, moonlight, sandy dance floor. Chill, bro, kill the tempo. Just float on your back and go with the flow. I'm so goddamn addicted to the summertime. High sail, women and sunshine. I'm so goddamn addicted to the summertime. High sail, women and sunshine. Now where are the hotties? West Coast. Where they get naughty? West Coast. Where you working that body? West Coast. Now where do we party? West Coast. Now where are the hotties? West Coast. Where they get naughty? West Coast. Where you working that body? West Coast. Now where do we party? West Coast. Now where are the hotties? West Coast. Where they get naughty? West Coast. Where you working that body? West Coast. Now where do we party? West Coast. Now where are the hotties? West Coast. Where they get naughty? West Coast. Where you working that body? West Coast. Now where do we party? West Coast. Chill, bro, kill the tempo. Just float on your back and go with the flow. I'm so goddamn addicted to the summertime. High sail, women and sunshine. I'm so goddamn addicted to the summertime. High sail, women and sunshine. I'm so goddamn addicted to the summertime. High sail, women and sunshine.